Okay, let's take a moment to look at the disclaimer. This content is for educational, informational, entertainment purposes only, and nothing should be taken as a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any securities at any time. We are here just to tell you how BTA analyzed the market, how we look at the markets, but nothing should be taken as a recommendation. This is Rod from BTA, and we are known as the middle traders. We are not going to get in at the exact bottom, and we are not going to get out at the exact top. But we will eat, make money in the middle. Okay, this is part 2 of our major market ETF, the ETF that tracks the major market indexes analysis on the daily charts. Our daily analysis of the major market ETFs, okay? Of the major market index ETFs. Right now we're looking at the QQQs, all right? So we're looking at our moving average, a daily chart with our moving averages for the QQQs. And we have to notice, we have to stay on top of this on the daily basis, y'all. We got to pay attention. Here's the 21-day moving average. This thing has been acting as support for 5 days. All right? It's holding up the market. All right? If we can hold support there, maybe we can rally back up. The next area of interest will be this red line, which is a downward trend in 50-day moving average. So just like we saw in part 1 of the DIA and the SPY, the QQQ, the ETF that tracks the NASDAQ, technically the NASDAQ 100, but if the NASDAQ go up, the QQQ is going up. NASDAQ go down, QQQs are going down. So that's why I say the QQQ is the ETF that tracks the NASDAQ. All right, we holding support. We at the 9-day, we holding support at the 9 and the 21-day. And for the first time in the last 4 or 5 days, we actually closed below the white line, moving average line, which is the 5-day moving average. So we holding support. We just closed below the 5-day. Let's see what happens, okay? Can we hold support and rally and bounce off of this and move back up to the 50-day, or are we going to break below it and start moving to the downside? That's the question. So that's where we at with the moving averages on the QQQs. Similar to what we saw on the DIA and the SPY, all right? Now, let's look at the structural chart for the QQQs, all right? And here's our daily chart with our price structure, our support and resistance levels, and our trend lines, right? Let's expand it a little bit so we can see it, and let's zoom in, see what we're looking at here. All right, here we're gonna zoom in here. And if you notice, we kind of we ran into resistance right at these fractals, these horizontal resistance levels. Prices ran up and we found resistance right there. Not only that, if you look very closely, we got this downward trending trend line, and prices on Thursday traded right up to that trend line, that downward trending trend line, and the trade right up to this horizontal resistance level at 315, and it stalled. And then Friday we traded down. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that very clearly. It's a blue crayon downward trending trend line right here, and it came right across here. And on Thursday we traded right up to it, and we stopped there, almost to the penny. Okay, almost to the penny, and that was the same level that this horizontal resistance level was at 315. So we traded up to that and we got rejected, and now we trending back down. So that's resistance. Can we get back above that? Well, we got to first get above 309, then get above 311. But we got this downward trending trend line that may hold us. So we got to see what happens. So we holding support at the 21-day and the 9-day, but we are testing resistance levels that's kind of stalling it. All right, so it's stalling the Qs, and we hitting this overhead resistance. So at 315 is where we stopped on Thursday. We got 311 and 309. There's also some resistance levels. If the Qs start rallying back up, or moving back up rather, can we get above these levels and get above this downward trending trend line? Okay, so that's what we're looking at on the Qs as far as the structural chart is concerned. Now let's see how the momentum is looking okay, with some of our momentum indicators. And let's go to the MACD, and let's look at our MACD and stochastic, okay? So here down below, we got the MACD right here. We did get a bullish crossover on the MACD, and the histogram is turning green, so we're moving up. So let's expand it. The histogram did turn green and is moving up. Okay, so that's telling us momentum may be coming in. All right, let's zoom in. Let's zoom in a little bit and see what it looks like. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Let's zoom in here. I apologize. Okay. Let's try to zoom in one more time. See how this work out here. Let's zoom in. Okay, that's better. All right, so you see the MACD. We got a bullish crossover on the MACD right here. And the MACD line is moving up, but it hasn't gotten above the 0 line yet. And the histogram is green. The histogram is green. Well, the stochastic gave us a bearish crossover right here, and it's recycling down. And it's starting to move downward, okay? But we're still well above 80, so the momentum is still to the upside. All right, but we did get a bearish crossover on the stochastic, and it is moving down. So let's see what happened, okay? We did get a bearish crossover on the stochastic, and it is moving down. All right, but it's still showing that the prices are closing higher and higher within this range because we're well above 80. But we recycling down, okay? We're recycling down. So if that start coming, if the stochastic, this yellow line start coming back below 80, okay, that might not be that good, all right? And it start coming back down toward 50, that's telling us prices are closing lower and lower within this range over the last 14 days. That might pull prices back down, okay? So let's look now at the RSI and see what that's telling us. So up top here, we got the RSI, okay? All right, the RSI is back below 50. You can see that right here. It crossed back below this yellow line, all right? Let me expand that so we can see it. Let's expand that a little bit, and then let's try to zoom in, right? You see that RSI is back below 50, okay? The RSI has just peaked back below 50. That's really not what we want to see. That's telling us that the bears, the sellers, are starting to take control. We're on the wrong side of the 50-yard line, okay? We're on the wrong side of the 50-yard line, and the taking money flow is turning negative, meaning money is coming out. So momentum is coming out, and it's more to the bearish side on the QQQs, okay? So be careful with that. It's clearly money is coming out, the money flow. We just got that red bar here to the negative on the money flow, okay, the taking money flow. You don't want to see that. That means money coming out. We broke back below 50 on the RSI. Momentum is more to the bearish side. We're on the bearish side of the 50-yard line. Okay. Let's see what the on-balance volume looks like. Okay. Let's see what the on-balance volume looks like. Give us a better picture of the volume. Is volume coming in? Is the institutional investors buying, or are they flying away, running away? Okay, well, right now, it looks like the institutional investors may have never even showed up to the party. All right, so here up top is our line chart of closing prices. Here's the prior high. Okay, so the prices broke above this horizontal line here, this resistance level. And now it's starting to come back down, trying to break. That line is right across its prior highs, right? That resistance level that we wanted to act as support is right on the prior high, okay? Going straight across the prior high. Prices is trying to break back below that. The troubling thing with the on-balance volume, it never got back below. It never got back above its high. It's always been below it, okay? So that's not good. That's why I was telling y'all the volume is not in the Qs. This thing was not prices might have been going up, but this thing was not being accumulated, being bought by the big time traders, okay? Big institutional traders, big large traders was not buying the Qs. No volume was coming in. Here's the prior high right here on the on-balance volume. Look at the horizontal line. The on-balance volume never got above it, okay? it was no volume coming into the Qs, point blank and period. That's why we was telling y'all that we are not gonna trade the Qs on the Bollinger Band strategy. If it hits, we still not gonna trade it because there's no volume coming in. Now, let's look at lowers for the Qs. Okay, let's look at lowers for the Qs. Let's zoom in on it and see what she's saying for the Qs. Well, lowest is still below price. That's good. Lowest is still holding price up, acting as support. It's right below the 21-day moving average. Lowest is actually almost right on this horizontal support level at 303.50. Lowest is at 304.2. Price is closed at 306. So it's right above lowest. It's holding support. So the 21-day moving average, the 9-day moving average, these support levels and lowest is right below it, holding support. It's all right there together. But the momentum is coming out. The volume is not there. The momentum is slowing, coming out, leaning more to the bearish side. I will be careful in the Qs. We would not be trying to go long the Qs no matter what. The Qs are looking very weak. From the part one, we looked at the DIA and the SPY. The Qs look worse. The Qs look weaker than almost all of them. Okay, not almost. The Qs is weaker than all of them. It looks a lot more weaker than all of them. Okay, so and if you notice here on the ADX, if we look at the ADX down below here, let's look at the ADX and see what direction and momentum and who's in control. Okay, well the ADX line is the red line is down. Okay, the red line is down. The green line is down. It's showing us that everything is down. Nobody is really in control. And the yellow line, with this trend, is also pointing down. And so right now, there is no trend. Okay, we are consolidating. The yellow line telling us that there is no trend. The red line is below green. So when the green line is above the red line, it a little bit favors the bulls, right? The bulls, right? So the green line is above the red line. So that's favoring the bulls a little bit, but the green line and the red line are both pointing down, and they both are below 20. So nobody is really in control. The trend is down. Okay, the trend line is down. Price is consolidating sideways. The Q momentum is coming out of the Qs. Nobody's in control. Momentum's coming out. No volume is coming in. Okay, and the momentum is starting to lean toward the bears. Okay, the sellers. The Qs can be dangerous. I would be very careful in the Qs, especially if you're trying to go long. It's at support, and maybe the support will hold, but there's no momentum right now. The volume is not there, and the trend is down. Okay, so now let's look at let's look at the IWM. Okay, we just finished up with the Qs. Let's look at the IWM real fast. Okay, and see what the IWM is telling us. All right, so here's the IWM. Okay, daily chart, the IWM with our moving averages on there. So here, okay, real quick, look, the prices are right at the 21-day moving average, which is flat, and the uptrending 9-day moving average is at support. But we right below a downward trending 50-day moving average. So we closed at 187. The downward 50-day moving average is at 190. That's some key overhead resistance. We squeeze between the 21-day and the 50-day on the IWM. 21-day and the 9-day moving average, and the 5-day is holding that support. And we got this strong downward trending resistance level at the 50-day moving average that's acting as resistance. We squeeze. We got to see what's going to happen. Can we get above resistance? Or are we going to hit the resistance and collapse? Or are we going to break below support? So right now we got to see. We're going to be waiting on this, okay, until either we break above the resistance or break below support. Point blank and period. It's just that simple. There's nothing else to talk about. This thing is trapped within support and resistance, okay? We have to see what happens. If you look at the structural chart of the IWM, the daily chart of the structural chart of the IWM, well, it's showing the same thing. We trap between support and resistance, okay? We trap right between support and resistance. Here you can see this red line is a longer-term weekly resistance level. Right here. This red line is a longer weekly resistance level. We have been hitting it and finding rejection all week. Look at this crayon line as a downward trending trend line, okay? And we can't get above that. Well, Friday, we came to the resistance level, the weekly longer term resistance level to the T, and got rejected. And we held this here 184 level, which was a daily support level. But at the end of the day, resistance at the downward trending trend line, resistance at the weekly horizontal resistance line, hit it to the T and pull back. We caught in between resistance and support with the moving averages. We right at resistance on the structural chart. I would be careful. Okay, the IWM is at resistance. All right, so let's see how the momentum is looking on the IWM. Well, it's not that bad. The MACD is still positive. Histogram is still green on the MACD. All right. The only thing, once again, with the stochastic, we're starting to get that bearish crossover on the stochastic down here. Okay, we're starting to get the bearish crossover on the stochastic right here. You can see the yellow line starting to cross below the crayon line. It's flat. Well, it's still high, though. It's at 90. So we closing at 90% of the range over the last 14 days, higher and higher within the range. That's great. So it's not like we closing lower in the range, but it's moving sideways over the last 5 days, okay? So we have to see what happens. If this recycles down to get below 80, like I said, with the other ETFs, well, then the momentum might be coming out and going to the downside. Prices may start trading down just a little bit, okay? Now, for the RSI, we still above 50. That's great, okay? If you look at the RSI here, we still above 50, okay? Let me see if I can expand it a little bit so you can see it. The RSI line is still above 50. Okay, it's still above 50. It held support, and it's still above 50. So we on the right side of the 50-yard line if you're long, right? The bulls are still somewhat in control. It's on the upper end of the 50 level. But look at the check and money flow. It just ticked red. So money is coming out. So even though it got above 50, the green line is starting to go up, but the check and money flow just turned red, showing us that money is starting to come out. Okay, check and money flow was red. So it's moving. Look, it's moving sideways. Okay, the momentum is still there a little bit. Definitely is still there. All right, we still closing higher within this range. Okay, but the RSI is still above 50. That's great, but the check and money flow just turned red. Not good. The main thing is that we trap that resistance, okay? Right now, we holding support, but we trap that resistance, okay? Now, let's look at this here on balance volume, okay? This is, we're not going to go against the on balance volume, right? Well, here's the prior high here, okay? And look what the on balance volume is telling us, all right? Let's zoom in, okay? Here's the high on the line of closing prices is right here. This is our line chart of closing prices. We broke above it. Okay. Closing prices broke above its high. Okay. So closing prices moved up. Well, so did the on balance volume. It broke above its high also right here. Here's the horizontal line. It broke above its high. But look what it did. It broke back below its high. Is the volume leading the price? Volume is coming out. If this thing was being bought, then the volume would have stayed above its previous high. It's coming out. All right. I will be careful with everything right now. Okay. So far, everything that we looked at is telling me to be careful. Okay. On all the major indexes, momentum, volume, everything is telling me to be careful. We had key overhead resistance. Everything is telling me to be careful right now. The volume is coming out. The large institutional investors, the big boys, are not buying this thing, okay? And we at key overhead resistance. Let's look at the ADX and tell us who's in control and in what direction. Well, nobody is really in control. In the direction, the trend is down, okay? The trend, there is no trend, okay? The yellow line is down. The yellow line is our trend, okay? Tell us what direction the trend is in. Well, we have no trend. Well, telling us if we have a trend. I'm sorry. The yellow line is telling us if we got a trend in any direction. Okay, we ain't got no trend is what it's saying. It's below 20. It's at 18. The red is telling us the bulls are in control. The bears are in control. I'm sorry. The red is telling us the bears are in control. The green will be telling us that the bulls was in control. Okay, so right now the red line is down, so it's telling us the bears not in control. It is down and it's almost below 20, and the green line is pointing down and is almost below 20. Everything is pointing down, and there is no trend. Well, we know that because prices are moving sideways. So nobody has really taken control as of yet, and everything is down. Okay, ADX is telling us there's some indecision out there, and there is no trend right now. It's moving sideways. So to sum it up for the IWM and the Qs, it looks like the momentum is starting to weaken a little bit, starting to weaken. Nobody is really in control. The bears are the bulls, according to the ADX, but we're coming upon key overhead resistance. We're holding support, but we had key overhead resistance, but the volume is starting to come out. Okay, let's look at Lois and see what Lois is telling us for the IWM. Well, Lois looks a little bit better for the IWM than she did for the Qs, right? Because she is pointing up, okay? But prices are still above Lois. That's the main thing. What we want to see, the blue line of Lois, prices are still above it. Lois is a little above the 21-day moving average. If you see here, this is the 21-day moving average. Lois is a little bit above it. The 21-day moving average at 183.43. Lois is at 183.91. Okay, 183.91. Prices is at 187. All right. So we had overhead resistance. We see that. We're coming upon overhead resistance. We had this overhead resistance right here, this horizontal line. If it start breaking down and breaking below Lois and get below the 21-day moving average, that's going to happen even before it breaks support and get back below this downward trend line. So we have to see. We holding support, but we right at resistance. Can it stay above Lois? That's the question. All right. So that's the IWM and that's the Qs. Okay. That's the IWM and the Qs. Everything is at a period of indecision. I will be careful. Let's look at the ITOT real fast. And we're not going to go too crazy with the ITOT because it's pretty much the same thing. Okay. On our moving average charts, we right at support. The 21-day and the 9-day moving average holding support. 50-day moving average, the red line is overhead resistance. So we right at support, overhead resistance. If we look at the structural chart, okay, for the ITOT, this is the ITOT that we're talking about now, the daily chart of ITOT. Here's the weekly longer-term resistance level. We've been bumping our head on that all week last week, okay? Couldn't seem to get above it, all right? Couldn't seem to get above it. I want to zoom in on that so you can see it, all right? We're going to do this one quick, all right? Couldn't seem to get above it, okay? Because this is the ITOT. It's the total market ETF. It's going to look pretty much similar to the SPY, okay, and the DIA. So here it sometimes it looks a little bit better, but right now it doesn't. So we got overhead resistance right here at 92.38. Okay, we couldn't seem to get above it. Now we broke back below this weekly longer term support level, right, where we wanted it to hold at 91.75. We back below that. Okay, so if this thing was to turn around, we got to get back above 91.75. We got to get back above 92.38 and get back above Thursday's high. So it got a little work to do. But remember, we got overhead resistance at the 50-day moving average, okay, but it's holding support at the 21, all right? So it's holding support at the 21. That's great, all right? The momentum is starting to, similar to the rest of the major market ETFs. The stochastic is starting to recycle down, okay? The stochastic is starting to recycle down, all right? It's still well above 80. So we still closing higher and higher within the range because it's still well above 80. But it is having a bearish crossover right here. And maybe let's see if it can stay above 80. But if it gets back below 80, we don't want to see it get too close to 50 because that means we're closing lower and lower within the range. Okay, so the MACD is still looking okay. Okay, the MACD is still looking okay. The momentum is still there. All right, it's starting to slow because the histogram is starting to narrow. So so momentum is starting to slow slightly. If we look at the RSI, it's testing 50 level. It's testing the 50 level. If it breaks below 50, then I would say that the RSI is telling us momentum is starting to get in the favor of the bears, right? So let's pick this vertical line, this horizontal line at 50, and see what happens. Well, as you can see, we're right on 50. All right. So the momentum is trying to come out of it, but we still hold it. It's still in the bull. It's still on the bull side of the field. It's on the right side of the 50-yard line if you're bullish. But the checking money flow is starting to come down. The money is starting to come out of the ITOT. Okay, the checking money flow is starting to come down. All right. So if you notice here, the checking money flow, the histogram on the checking money flow, the histogram is starting to decrease. Money is coming out. We don't want it to turn red like we saw on the Qs, okay? But the money is starting to come out. All right, that's not what we want to see. That histogram is starting to come down. It means the money is starting to come out. The RSI is starting to go to the negative side. Let's look on that on-balance volume. Well, for the on-balance volume line right now, if you look at the on-balance volume line, it is still above its previous high along with price. That's good. So it's not a lot of volume coming out of the ITOT like we saw on some of the other indexes, right? The on-balance volume line for the ITOT is telling us that the price, this is the closing line chart of closing prices, is still above its high. And here's the on-balance volume line high. Look at the horizontal line going across its high. It's still above its high. So volume is not really coming out of the ITOT like we saw in some of the other indexes, okay? Some of the other major market ETFs, right? Like the Qs, the IWM. Volume is starting to come out, right? We saw that, all right? We don't want to see that, all right? The DIA, volume is starting to come out. Here's the DIA, volume is starting to come out. It's breaking back below its high. The Qs never got above its high. The SPY, the volume is starting to come out. It's breaking back below its high, okay? The IWM, the volume is starting to come out. It's breaking back below its high, all right? So the ITOT is still holding up, okay? It hasn't broken back below its high, all right? But the volume, the momentum, the volume is still there, but the momentum, the acceleration, and all of that is starting to weaken. All right, we at key overhead resistance, trying to hold support on all of them. So here is the ITOT of lowest, right? Lowest is the ITOT with lowest, right? And let's just zoom in so we can see it. Okay, well, lowest is holding support. Here's the blue line of lowest. It's holding support. It's right at the 21-day moving average. Okay, it's right around 90.64. Okay, 21-day moving average is right there also. And we got this horizontal where this fractal was at, this horizontal support level at 90.58. So if we start breaking back below that, breaking back below this downward trend line, I would say be very careful for the ITOT. So everything is at key support, all right? So sum it all up for the second part of our major market index ETFs. Everything is at support levels, key support levels. We got overhead resistance for the 50-day moving average. Momentum is starting to come out. The ADX is telling us that nobody is really in control and there is no real trend. We're consolidating, moving sideways. Volume is coming out. Large institutional investors are not buying the majority of the indexes, okay? The ETF that track the major market indexes. They are not accumulating it. You see that with the on-balance volume. You see that with the volume bars. We're seeing below average volume on the volume bars, and we're seeing more distribution than accumulation, okay? Look, this is a time that we're going to be patient and cautious. We're going to wait until Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, next week, however long it takes, until this thing corrects itself and play itself out, until the market tells us which direction they want to go in. Walk with the market, y'all. Don't fight it. Do the analysis. Walk with the market. We did the analysis. Go back, look at these videos, take notes. Support levels, resistance levels, which ETFs volume is coming out of, which ETFs momentum is coming out of the worst. Listen, be careful. Right now, I would say be careful. We're going to be careful. As things change, we're going to be giving updates. But for right now, inside days, volume coming out, momentum slowing, no direction of who's in control and in what direction. Key overhead resistance, consolidation sideways. Look, it's there. Breath not that good. Look at walking with the market, part 1 and part 2. All right, it's right there in front of us. Be careful. All right, be careful. See y'all on the next video.